Welcome back. More World of Warcraft Chronicle Volume 1. We'll continue on with the Shah. When Yasharj died, its blighted remains scattered across the Vale of Eternal Blossoms and the surrounding regions. In time, the old god's evil seeped into the land itself. During his journeys, Song became keenly aware of this dark power that lurked in the earth. Yasharj's lingering essence latched onto and amplified negative emotions, giving rise to malevolent spirits known as the Shah. By spreading Kang's teachings, Song hoped that he could help the Pandaren and other races negate the old god's influence and nullify the Shah. Okay, so the next part that we're going to talk about is the Yongle, which are the ancestors of the Tauren. And thus far, I've been only putting pictures up that are in the book as we get to the part that they're actually in the book. So everything that you're seeing here, the pictures that I have up, are right out of the book at the same time that we're reading them where they appear in the book. But there's no pictures of the Yongle in the book at all. And I thought, hey, if we're going to be talking about them for a while, I'm just going to go on the internet, grab a picture, and there you go. That's what they look like in the Mists of Pandaria expansion in World of Warcraft. So you kind of have an idea as we're talking about them. When the Mogu Empire was at its height, an intelligent bovine race known as the Yongle roamed the grassy plains of central Kalimdor. These burly creatures lived in harmony with nature, following the guidance of the wise demigod Cenarius. Unlike many of the other wild gods, Cenarius was more humanoid in appearance. The majestic half-stag, draped in a cloak of flowers and vines, often walked among the nomadic Yongle. He taught these creatures the secrets of the wilds, and he delighted in watching them flourish. Eventually, the Yongle grew weary of sharing hunting grounds with nearby trolls and decided to seek new lands. Although their beloved demigod Cenarius urged them to stay and make peace, they set out to the south. They hunted and foraged for food all the way to the edge of the Mogu Empire. The emperor of the time, Kiang the Merciless, found the Yongle and their immense physical strength fascinating. He ordered his flesh shapers to capture the nomads and transform them into even mightier and more intelligent servants, while at the same time tempering their more savage instincts. The Yongle suffered under the tyranny of Mogu oppression for generations, until they rose up alongside the other slaves to overthrow their cruel masters. Although the Yongle gained their freedom, they had lost much. Their strong oral storytelling tradition had all but vanished due to strict Mogu laws that forbade them from discussing their heritage. Much of their rich history had faded away. Some Yongle clung to the faint memories and incomplete myths of a benevolent demigod who had once watched over them. Others insisted that the Yongle should abandon all tradition and forge a new destiny by force. The disagreements grew heated, and on certain occasions even led to bloodshed. Most Yongle despised the violence and set out to the north, determined to return to a life of hunting and living among the spirits of nature. Some of the more nomadic tribes traveled all the way across the continent, only stopping when they reached the frigid climes near the storm peaks. Other tribes settled in the balmy areas of central Kalimdor and reunited with their ancient benefactor, Cenarius. Returning to their ancestral hunting grounds allowed them to rediscover their old traditions. Those who studied with Cenarius learned the druidic magic of the natural world, while others mastered the arts of wielding shamanic powers. Shamanic? Yes. Yet not all Yongle left the Vale. Those who stayed behind quickly found themselves at odds with the Pandaren and other liberated slaves. The Mogu flesh-shaping had not completely subdued the Ongol's bold nature, and conflict after conflict ignited over matters of land and resources. Fearing an open war with their former allies, the Ongol moved west, settling outside the Serpent's Spine. That left them exposed to the Mantid, and every 100 years the swarm would threaten to exterminate their people. The Mantid cycle and constant infighting among these Yongol led to a strong warrior tradition, one that would make them far more savage than the tribes that had gone north. Over the passing of generations, the energies emanating from the Well of Eternity and keeper-wrought machineries around Kalimdor changed the Ongol in I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time. Let's try this again. Over the passing of generations, the energies emanating from the Well of Eternity and keeper-wrought machineries around Kalimdor changed the Ongol in unique ways. Those near the Vale would keep the name Yongol, though they grew more warlike than their distant cousins. Those in central Kalimdor, close to the Well of Eternity, would take the name Tauren. The tribes that ventured to the north, near the Forge of Wills, would be called Tonka, and they would adapt to the region's icy terrain. These far-flung groups maintained contact with one another for many years, but when the Great Sundering eventually shattered the world, all connection between the tribes was lost. Wow, that's interesting. I did not know that. For a long time in World of Warcraft, the only ones we knew of were the Tauren. We eventually met the Yongol, and then the Tonka, I believe, were the last ones that we met, but that is very interesting to know where they came from and why they changed. The Well of Eternity changed a lot of things. Next, the Zandalari invasion. There we go. The Zandalari had always maintained a distant relationship with the Mogu following Li Shen's death. Though the trolls found the Mogu's knowledge of arcane magic useful, they loathed the constant intra-clan strife and tense political maneuvering. When it became clear that no Mogu clan would establish total dominance, the Zandalari refrained from pledging their loyalties to any one faction in particular. But they never forgot the promise Li Shen had made to them. A large plot of land near the Vale of Eternal Blossoms would forever belong to the trolls. When at long last the Mogu Empire crumbled, the Zandalari saw an opportunity to take what they believed was rightfully theirs. They did not move immediately. Internal debate raged in the Zandalari capital of Zuldazar about whether the territory should be taken by diplomacy or force. In the end, it was a descendant of the great high priest Zalathra who made the strongest case. His name was Mengazi, and he knew that the Pandaren would be unlikely to honor the Zandalari's agreement with the Mogu. The former slaves had also overthrown their masters, and as such they could be strong enough to mount a fierce resistance against the trolls if given time to prepare. To succeed in claiming their land, the trolls would need to strike without warning and with enough force to shatter the Pandaren's will. To this end, the trolls marched south, intent on seizing a fertile region north of Kunlai Summit. The Zandalari stormed the main settlement in the area, a tranquil Pandaren farming village. Imbued with mystic powers and riding atop colossal Saurian war mounts, the trolls slaughtered almost every single resident of the settlement. The Zandalari ranks then pushed into the Jade Forest, a dense jungle that had become the heart of the newly established Pandaren Empire. When word of the invasion reached other Pandaren settlements, panic seized them. No standing army existed to thwart the trolls. In the decades since the slave revolution, few had seen the need to carry on the militaristic ways of the Mogu, preferring instead to let all residents live in peace, without an overarching authority. The only real fighting force was an order of monks, charged by the Pandaren Emperor to patrol the Serpent's Spine and stand against the periodic Mantid swarm. Though the monks raced from the Serpent's Spine to defend their lands against the trolls, they found themselves hopelessly outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The trolls were employing a form of warfare none had ever seen, descending into battle on the backs of reptilian terror wings and giant bats. The Pandaren had no means to counter these ferocious aerial attacks. Ultimately, salvation came from a young Pandaren named Jiang. When she was but a child, she had found a cloud serpent hatchling, alone and badly injured after a terrible storm had destroyed his nest. At the time, the Pandaren regarded the flying cloud serpents as untamable and violent beasts. But Jiang nursed him back to health and befriended him. Those in her village often saw them flying the skies together. As the monks fought a losing battle atop the cliffs of the Jade Forest, Jiang and her serpentine companion, Lo, swooped down from the clouds. Lo's fury and fire broke the Zandalari ranks, forcing them to retreat. News of the victory spread throughout the empire, and others followed in Jiang's footsteps. They tamed the powerful cloud serpents, and soon a small army arose to fly into battle at Jiang's side. These brave Pandaren became known as the Order of the Cloud Serpent. Well, there it is. Pandaren serpent riders strike at the Zandalari trolls. The tide of the war had turned. The trolls knew there was little they could do to win by conventional means, so Mengazi turned to a final tactic: resurrecting the Thunder King, Li Shen. Li Shen had granted the Zandalari the secret to his revival, not trusting any of his Mogu underlings to do it for him if he were ever killed. The trolls knew the Thunder King would have the power to purge the troublesome serpent riders and destroy any army on the ground. A pitched battle erupted near the Tomb of Conquerors, where Li Shen's corpse was enshrined. Jiang sacrificed herself in a final desperate attack, killing Mengazi. The other Zandalari soon broke ranks and fled back to their homeland in shame. Through her heroic act, Jiang had prevented the trolls from resurrecting the terrible Thunder King. There was great celebration throughout the empire, but also mourning over the lives lost, especially Jiang's. For decades after the conflict, Lo was seen circling the skies above the Jade Forest, as though searching for his old friend and rider. The other serpent riders honored Jiang's memory by codifying her teachings. Within the Order of the Cloud Serpent, her tradition of training and befriending the majestic creatures would survive for millennia to come. All right, we're going to take a break right there.